What's going on, people? This is another great episode of the Film Review. Movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy Dee.
I'm Tracey.
And we review culture and movies, music, politics, and society. Let me do this little tag thing real quick here. There we go. So, we're back again with part 2 of Surviving R. Kelly. I still don't understand that title, but Surviving R. Kelly is the film review, and topics are: who are the responsible parties? Who's responsible? Who are the responsible parties? Before we continue, though, we have to do a couple of changes from the last podcast. We have to change and make some revisions here. You're a Big Girl Now is not the dramatics, but it is the stylistics. You're a Big Girl Now. I talked about how that's actually a pimp record, and people talk about the good old days, but really the good old days aren't the good old days, because when you listen to those lyrics, you hear it broke down. And well, anyway, you go watch the first one after you finish watching this one. And then the second thing is, we talked about how it was alluded to that the person who was molesting R. Kelly was his sister, and at first I thought I had saw it on the Hollywood Reporter, but actually Kaya was reading the book Sex Me, Confessions of Daddy's Little Freak, and in there the person who was the anonymous writer is the one who actually said that R. Kelly was actually being molested by his sister. And we was like, well, this didn't hit the documentary, so where would they get that from? I thought it was THR, but actually we were listening to Kaya, and that's where that came from. So those are the two changes that we have to make sure that everything is true indeed in what we say. All right. So where do we start with this one today? Well, what I want to say, what I want to start with is R. Kelly's older brother, who was incarcerated at the time of this making of this documentary. He says that his youngest brother, Kerry Kelly, was going to be offered $100,000 and a one record deal if he went and did this deposition for R. Kelly, where he said what he said on Wendy Williams was false, and he said he couldn't understand it because he could have been rich. That right there is very, very strange, because it's self-preservation.
Hi, Kayla. Hi, Wisely.
Yeah. It's very, very strange that, it's self-preservation, so why would you go and put yourself out there on something like you're going to get $100,000? $100,000 doesn't make you rich, and there was no guarantee that R. Kelly was going to necessarily push your record, and two, that you would be free if you took the fall for saying that it was you in the video. Right. Is that strange still? I mean, his brother is really was incarcerated at the time. Yeah. He's really going hard for R. Kelly at this point.
Right.
This all of this is just splitting up family.
For me, watching it tonight, I was shocked to find out that in court, Sparkle's family denied that her niece was one of the victims of R. Kelly.
The person that was in the videotape.
Right. So I was really shocked to hear about that, and then to learn that her brother was still playing with
a brother-in-law.
Her brother-in-law was still a band member, playing the guitar,
playing on some of R. Kelly's top music that was coming out during the trial.
Yeah. So learning that was something new, and that shocked me, and I'm just sitting here watching this, and I'm thinking this is bigger than R. Kelly. Now it's to the point, it's kind of like how do we make sure our children, boys and girls, whether they are preteens or teenagers, how do we teach them that it doesn't matter who the person is? It doesn't matter if it's a megastar, if it's your teacher, your next door neighbor, if it's the pastor's coach. It's not appropriate to be in a relationship with the older person,
or be hanging around an older person.
Hanging out, you should be with someone your age. That's number one. So I'm sitting there, I'm like watching this, and I'm thinking, okay, so what's the solution? Because the reason why I say it's bigger than R. Kelly is because, okay, so let's say that R. Kelly is, I guess, the ultimate goal for this programming and for the Me Too commercials and for the woman who created the Me Too movement to be speaking, in the documentary. Maybe the ultimate goal is probably to have R. Kelly maybe arrested, kind of like what happened with Bill Cosby, and clearly some type of lawsuit where, everybody that was a part of it, so they can gain financially from it. But see, let's say if R. Kelly is nowhere around, and so who's going to be the next mega star? Like, this pattern needs to stop. So that's why I said it's bigger than R. Kelly. So do we focus on now educating the parents? Because the parents are the ones who are in contact with the children, and these kids can't possibly be doing all of this without the parents not knowing. And we saw in the previous episode, the first episode, that the parents, grandparents, other family members were aware of R. Kelly calling, stopping by the home, in contact with their children. But because it was R. Kelly, for them it was okay. So it's bigger than that. So it's easy to, okay, R. Kelly as a scapegoat. So, but what about the next person? Whether it's the neighbor across the street. So now, doesn't it fall on the parents to educate the parents to make sure that this doesn't happen over and over again?
I don't even think it's about education of parents. I think that he was in a situation and in an area in Chicago where, and every person that he dealt with are people who are willing to do anything. Anything to make it. Anything just to be around a star. Anything to have that lifestyle. That's what it is, and it's not about education.
So it's greed.
We're not about, it's not about saving, but I will say this. Like we said at the end of the situation, hold on to your sons, hold on to your daughters.
Right.
Don't let them go off with people. I mean, you got to look out for blood, most of the time. But you can't, today, in the way the world is today, you can't trust a girl with a woman, because you don't know if the woman is a lesbian.
Right.
And you can't trust a boy with a man, because you don't know if that man is homosexual. I had a discussion with someone, and we were talking about the pedophile priest. He contended that they were pedophiles and not homosexuals. And I said, well, let's break down just the root word. Let's break down the root.
Let's just make it clear that a person, they could be a pedophile, or but just because the person may be homosexual doesn't equal.
Okay, wait now. Let's break down. That's what he was saying. He was saying that the priests were pedophiles, but not necessarily homosexual. Let's break down the word let's break down the prefix homo. What does it mean? One, same. If a priest is fondling a little boy and doing sex acts with a little boy, that is same sex. That's homo.
Or it could be
let me finish.
Let me finish. Like the DeBarge family.
Let me finish.
The father molested both the boys and girls.
Let me finish. It's a homosexual act. So pedophiles are homosexuals because they're doing it with the same sex. That's all homo means. So when you break down the prefix, and you say homo means one, same. What are they doing? They're doing a sexual act, which means it's with the same thing. That's a homosexual act. When people play sports, take the sexual intercourse out of it and say football is the same sex playing this sport. It is a homosexual act. Take the sexual intercourse out of it. Right. So pedophiles are homosexuals. Okay. So I mean that would be clear. Let's break that down. Let's break that out. But that doesn't mean that every homosexual, this a homosexual is a pedophile.
Right. However, see, that's where it needs to be clear because it gets really messy.
However, let's take R. Kelly's situation. R. Kelly started to deal with, by what they're saying in this piece, that he started dealing with girls 14, 15, and 16. Right. He's a heterosexual male messing with women who are girls who are 14, 15, 16, under 17 and under. Right. Okay? Same thing can happen with someone that is homosexual. So that's all I'm saying. So then you would say, they would say, that person was a pedophile. No. That person aligned themselves and said that their sexual orientation was homosexual. And if they start messing with someone that's 14, 15, 16, under 17 and under, they're doing the same thing R. Kelly is doing. And his would be considered heterosexual sex molestation. Theirs would be homosexual sex molestation.
So it happens with both.
That's right. That's my point. Right. So I would rather.
So equal opportunity.
Yeah, that's right. I would rather make sure that I kept my kids safe,
right,
and made sure that when we go places, you coming back with me. You're not doing sleepovers. You're not doing that because we don't know who's who.
You never know. It's crazy.
I mean, it's crazy. So protect your children. That's what I'll say on that. Now, Lisa Van Allen. She opens up the piece, and first of all, like I said the other day, the only two people that I truly believe in this whole program are Andrea Kelly and Sparkle. And
Sparkle,
we're gonna get to Sparkle in a minute.
Huge disappointment.
Yeah, we're gonna get to her. But Lisa Van Allen, first of all, knew that R. Kelly was married. Right. So let's break down everything, by what it says in this piece.
Pretty much, it seemed like they all knew.
And look, she knows that she stays with him. She goes through all this. She winds up getting pregnant. She knows that he's with R. Kelly. Right. She knows she's with his wife. Right. Knows he's married.
So she the one that said she knew the wife was upstairs.
Yeah, one of the times the wife was upstairs when they were having sexual relations with him, her doing a menage a trois with some people. She knew, so she knew he was married. Right. It went through, had the abortion. Now, she goes in and she steals the tape. She says, "You get on national TV." Just my opinion. You get on national TV and you say that you stole this tape. And then meanwhile, so you say you stole this tape, and then you go and give it to one of R. Kelly's artists to hold on to. Next thing you know, it's a extortion plot. R. Kelly's lawyers think that she was in on an extortion plot, but somewhere it went sour because just me being an editor, it must have didn't have editing equipment to go on ahead and edit her out. She probably just wanted the girl. Right.
I wonder why she just didn't destroy the tape.
Why she didn't.
If she was just so distraught about, this tape, finding a tape with R. Kelly and a tape with the girls that she was having sex with. I think she took the tape because she didn't want to be incriminated. Right. Because
did she take the tape? But
why with the minors?
Yeah. But if you didn't want to be incriminated, why would you hand it over to a band member? Now let's.
Do I necessarily believe she handed the tape over to anybody?
But listen. My thing is, this is what doesn't follow about the story that she told. She said she couldn't speak to anybody. She couldn't say hello. She had to keep her eyes down. This is the full story that each one of these women are telling.
Right.
They couldn't do this. They couldn't do that. They couldn't do this. They couldn't do that. And
hi, Tamara.
And then they couldn't do anything.
Right.
But somehow she talked to a band member enough to go on ahead and hand a videotape off to them, right? So then the videotape somehow goes into circulation. There's a 21 count indictment that comes down on R. Kelly for, and most of the counts were about distribution of pornography, right? But the only problem is R. Kelly wasn't distributing the pornography.
Right.
All of the people who distributed the pornography, that had it down at the swap meets and it crossed the country and it went across the world, all those people who were bootlegging this and printing were actually the child pornographers, because they took it and they sold it. You see it, it's fully packaged up on VHS cassettes, right? Videotape. It's fully packaged up, and then it's distributed out for people to see. And then those people who were doing it were the child pornographers, and all the people who sat up there and watched the piece, they were watching child pornography.
So then after all of that, she calls R. Kelly up with the retrieve the videotape, right? So she gets back with him again?
Yeah, she gets back with him. And she stays with him the whole time, enough to get pregnant, like we said. And just by the way the storyline is going, meanwhile, she knows that the wife is upstairs most of the time, when she's in some kind of strange bondage thing going on. What's good? We want to say what's up to Jada Moon for chiming in and watching us right now. Let's see. What else were we talking? What else is that? Lessons. Okay. This is a lesson in how not to be, in my opinion, dumb. Okay. The whole situation is setting up and how she describes what was happening and what she did. Why would you hand a tape off to another person? You know what that person's going to do. They're going to go and pop in that tape and watch it. You know what I'm saying?
You keep saying hand it off based on
I'm just going by what she's saying.
But I'm wondering if that's the story that's being told.
Well, the lawyer did take as what she was saying. This is what she's saying. That they took the $250,000 and traded off. By that time, they took a lie detector test. She passed the test. The other person didn't pass the test because he was lying, because he had actually made copies of it. That's what she said. So that's why he didn't pass the test. So R. Kelly wanted to get the original tape back. I guess he wanted to put it back in his collection, right? And I mean, it's just the weirdest thing, like just not thinking. And her treachery of taking the tape, just my opinion, I believe that it was treachery of taking the tape, handing it off to somebody else. The lawyers say that it was an extortion plot that she was in on, but somehow it backfired because the people obviously didn't have the editing technique. Take me out, but instead they just packaged the whole thing. What's going on, Roland? Thanks for checking in and watching this. Somehow, it backfired, and she goes out across the nation. This is a lesson in not being dumb.
I mean, I'm saying this is bigger than R. Kelly, because if not R. Kelly, I don't want to say excuse, right? So is it going to be the next athlete, whether it's the biggest next hockey player for you, or is it your favorite rapper, or your favorite, or dentist? I mean, it's just like crazy. Anybody who may be seen as a financially well-off person, right? So is it okay to kind of cling to them? So that's why I feel it's bigger. So it's like, should the parents be more involved? Because the truth is, not all girls that age. Plenty of girls go to concerts, right? And plenty of girls have been in situations where they've been around their favorite artists, right? But they didn't, like as stated in the book and as stated in the documentary, right? They didn't seek out the artist. They didn't cut school to get this person's attention. They didn't take the phone number and call and sneak off with this person. You know, other young girls may say, no, this is kind of uncomfortable. I like his music,
this
but
is
why
creepy.
is he trying?
It's creepy.
So, I mean, we need to look at this. So it can't be just one-sided, R. Kelly, and we can't just be like, oh, they were young. But then, because like you were saying earlier, if that's the case, we need to release a lot of the young teenage black males who have been charged as adults in jail.
That's right.
The psychologist said that, you know, at that age, you can't be held accountable. So we can't have it two ways.
That's right. You can't have it two ways. I wrote that down. Let's run that down real quick. Okay. Let's turn there. You know, the psychologists were sitting up there and saying that the teenage mind is not developed at that point where they can be responsible for decisions because they make snap decisions. That's basically what they were saying. Okay, so you can't have it both ways. You can't have psychologists saying that, but then they're sending away 14-year-old black boys to death row, talking about that they knew, but yet at the same time, the young 14-year-old girl, she's not responsible because she can't make decisions. But you said that the 14-year-old or the teenage mind, 16 until they develop into 18, they can't really be responsible because their decision making is flawed. Well, then you shouldn't be sending young black men to prison that are 14-year-old boys
or young
to
girls,
prison, or girls, or the girls are responsible for what they do too, right? Because actually the truth is the nation is only as strong as its women. So if its women are easy to be blown over, because sometimes, you know, there have been heroes in history that were young, that ran nations, and they were young children. Before all this psychological and psychologist mumbo jumbo came out, these people were leading whole nations and making decisions and going into war and all of that. And you said that they couldn't make decisions? I mean, so really, so what it boils down to, you have to find out, you have to figure out as a young person, speaking on the women point of view, because what I'm seeing here are, he had a wife, and I see that these women were nothing more than concubines. You know, in the Bible, there's concubines.
Right.
So they throughout the Bible, Abraham had concubines.
Right.
Sarah had the handmaiden Hagar. She brings Hagar to Abraham because she's barren and can't have children. So this is all throughout the Bible. So really, what position in life are you actually playing?
I mean, it's the point. It's disappointing because R. Kelly was like clearly wrong. I mean, like basically everything he did was wrong. And all of the sneaking around, he knew he was wrong. And not just, I mean, the sexual relations alone was just horrible, but also physically beating on these.
Allegedly, because that's what they're saying.
Well, allegedly.
That's what they're saying.
And allegedly, you know, according to like, you know, the ladies and his wife and the young woman who wrote the book.
The wife said that she was the wife never said that he rose his hand to her.
Well, when she talked about, she called the suicide hotline.
No, she called the abuse hotline.
The abuse hotline.
And she said it was only
Except
two things.
Two.
So one of them had to be beating because he abused her mentally.
Right.
He abused her psychologically, mentally, same thing.
Okay.
But he kept her away from her family. That's part of abuse. So, you know, they found that out.
Right. So, I mean, so he was clearly,
I cannot.
Clearly, he's no like angel. Clearly, I mean, he's just, I can't believe that, because first of all, he had a track record. Everyone in the community, and not even just in Chicago, it was just known. Articles in magazines, TV shows. I mean, and then to find out that, the young lady who went to cut school, she said she cut school just to be at his trial, to watch him, as he was walking back, in and out of court to give moral support. And then that's how he spotted her and eventually made contact with her. So it's just like, and it's going on and on and on. And God forbid whatever happened yesterday with all of this going on, some other little girl who was in contact with him. So that's what I'm saying. Like, where does it end? Like, throughout all of this, there has to be some type of like resolution. Like, people need to be held accountable. Okay, everyone's in the documentary. They're telling their side of the story. Everyone wants to get a book deal. Everyone wants to get a film made. I mean, it's sad, but to me, it's still all about the money. It's still all about the money, but there's no resolution. Haven't heard any of them say anything about like getting any type of psychological help, or maybe like some type of funding or charity or some type of educational program, for the girls in not just Chicago, but like other places. But since we're talking about R. Kelly in Chicago. So like, what's the solution? Like, other than like it being on television, and then somebody's making big money off of this.
Somebody is.
So where is, like, why am I seeing that at the end of this documentary, some type of foundation? Like this Me Too movement, they have a foundation and they have money going towards the Me Too movement. But if the Me Too movement woman that's on here speaking, if she's really concerned about these young black females, why didn't we hear about her or afterwards some type of foundations for these young black girls? Why isn't there a program in this school? In Chicago, specifically, we're talking about Chicago, and this is still happening. The court case was in Chicago, so clearly this could possibly still be happening. But it's being so sensationalized by them, so it's hard to I don't know. It's just like, I feel like I'm sitting there watching it and cutting through all the bullshit. It's just cutting through all the bullshit. You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. R. Kelly is clearly wrong, right? But everybody else, I mean, they don't get a pass. The parents don't get a pass. And it's still going on. And these girls know what R. Kelly is about, because there are some young girls who would not go R. Kelly's way. But the ones that did go his way, okay, you went his way, it didn't work out well, so why aren't we hearing about you guys who are adults right now saying, hey, this is the program that I'm working on now to make sure it doesn't happen to someone else? Okay. Why is it about book deals? And they say there are so many books out there from all these various women, and I'm sure it's movie deals on the table now. So why is it just all financial gain? Because people got with him in the beginning, including the parents giving their approval, turning a blind eye for financial gain. That's right. Like, the shit's sick all around. Okay. So it's not just R. Kelly. You have to be objective and look at all of this. Everybody, it's just all foul.
No. Take Sparkle for instance.
Right.
In my opinion, Sparkle is as guilty as any of the rest who just let this go on. Sparkle was like, she sat up there and she started crying, and I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, the tears are gonna actually fall down sooner or later. But she was like, how dare you do this to my family? But everybody else, you knew what he was doing. You knew his wife was basically in bondage, had to knock on the wall to get something to eat. It was okay.
Which seemed to be quite amusing to her at the time.
It couldn't be her, she said.
Right.
But everybody else's family, it could happen to everybody else's niece, everybody else's daughter, everybody else's granddaughter. Right. But it couldn't happen to yours, and then you get upset.
Right.
Instead of, if just my opinion, if we talked about this yesterday, if it was my niece And I knew that R. Kelly was doing it. First of all, once I found out R. Kelly was doing, I knew that the money train would have been good, but I would have been, I'm out because there's going to be some repercussions from all of this.
When would any of the family members would have let our niece be alone with R. Kelly? Who would not have been sitting up in that studio from the beginning to end? That's nobody. Right. Somebody would have been there 24/7.
24/7.
I mean,
all the time. It's no time to be alone. What you upset for being and not needing to be alone? I'm sitting here quiet in the corner reading the newspaper. Go on ahead and do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know that you got a bed in the studio.
Right.
I'm gonna be right there. I'm gonna be sitting on the bed reading the newspaper.
And the adult dancers.
No, they were teens.
Well,
right?
He had teenage dancers.
Yeah, they started out. No, old girl was 17. The Javante Cunningham.
And the mother let her go on tour with R. Kelly?
Yeah, I mean, they were going on tour.
And for the dancers who were on tour with R. Kelly, and at that age, you have to get parents' permission.
I mean, did you notice
going out to get the girls, bringing them back for R. Kelly?
Did you notice that Lisa Van Allen said that she took the tape, right? So she is directly or indirectly, no matter how you look at it, in my opinion, she's directly or indirectly responsible for the distribution of child pornography out there, handing it off to a second party, and then it starts to distribute around. Right. Her doing the initiating event of stealing the tape, then gets it. It then happens to get it distributed out to people, packaged up like it was a VHS tape that you could go to the video store and get. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just totally strange and totally sick. So you have implicated yourself right here on TV. They can go back and handle people for child, unless they have some kind of, like I said, they signed some kind of waiver or something where they won't get prosecuted. You know what I mean?
So, I mean, to me, it just seems like only one person said that they were accountable for what happened. They took part in it. And Sparkle did say she wished she had not introduced her niece, her family, to R. Kelly. But everybody else is kind of like, oh, he did this, he did this, he did that. And there's no accountability. It's going to be an ongoing rotation unless there's an accountability, until people start, the parents and the grandparents and it's not just all on the kids. I mean, because I'm just trying to think of when there was time, when my parents didn't know where I was. It's crazy. Going out of town with R. Kelly. Where your parents think you? I mean, you're gone for the weekend.
I mean, there would be what you would call chaperones, and so some parents would be chaperones. I remember when we first met Destiny's Child.
Right. They had chaperones.
The aunt was out with them.
Right.
And it was some other people, but they were male and female chaperones with them because they were young girls at the time, and anything could go on. So they had those chaperones around to make sure, and the aunt was on it. She was like, what what's going here? This autograph being signed, who are you as this man coming up here? You know what I mean? That's how they were on it. So there's no excuse for that, because there's organization. There's organization. The father came in, took it over, and I'm sure that they got away with some hijinks. Right. But it was not to the level of what was going on here. Now, Andrea Kelly, like I said, I believe that she's one of the most believable out of the story because she's the wife. She's married to him. Everybody else is a concubine, in my opinion. That's what that is. You know what I'm saying? They're there for his enjoyment, for his pleasure, to bathe him, like what you see in the video, bathe him, walk around there butt naked or whatever, do whatever they needed to do. They were not the wife, so then they would be concubines. That's what they would be, right? Now,
I'm still kind of confused because wasn't her brother the security guard?
Yeah, her brother was the security guard,
and he introduced her to
R. Kelly. Move in some so they can see.
So I'm just
I mean, but we're gonna get to him too because he cannot. I mean, it's like things are going on, and your sister is like in disappear mode
from the family,
and you're not doing anything. Like that is the strangest relationship. But we'll get to that. But listen, she says that she was whisked away and that she was pregnant with the third child and she didn't know what was going on. Do you believe that she didn't know? I'm asking the people out there, do you believe that she didn't know what was going on? I believe that she knew because walls aren't that thick.
Well, years ago there were rumors.
She said there were rumors. That she heard rumors.
No, rumors that she took part in like threesomes and
oh, there was okay. That didn't. What did they say here? It's sad how ultimately money.
Jonah
was
said,
more.
"Yeah, it said how ultimately money was more important." Exactly. Then the dress. Exactly, and then that's why I'm like, okay, so watching this documentary, but I'm waiting for some resolution. We need to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Myself. It's gonna always constantly happen because it's always been back, even in the days of chronicling what was happening in the biblical days, right? It's always been there, and it's always gonna be there. You just have to make sure that your child, your son or your daughter, is not the concubine, but the husband or the wife.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it has the strength to do it. For what I know about black women, it is no way, in my opinion, that Andrea Kelly didn't know. She had to know. Well, she says on the documentary she heard rumors. Who was telling her? It had to be her brother coming back and telling her. Maybe her brother was like, man, maybe her brother was telling her maybe she should get out of this, and she wasn't listening.
He knew about that, but before he hooked her up. Remember, he saw that before he hooked her sister up with R. Kelly. But I think the thing is, she did say that she did not have anything. She couldn't financially just up and so it was about finances.
She could have. I'm sure that her family would have welcomed her home.
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, but
or maybe not because the way the brother just basically like what you had said as we were watching it, just basically looked like he threw her to the wolves.
I mean, that's just like. In the What's Love Got to Do with it, the Tina Turner story, right? Mm-hmm. Do you remember the scene when she finally, she gathered her things and she went to her mother, and her mother picked up the phone and called Ike, and she told her, you better go back to him because of his money and so-called power.
Which goes back
because there are some mothers, not all mothers, because I know my mother, like she'd be like, let's get in the bag. We about to tear some shit up. But I mean, some mothers aren't like that. Some family members don't ride for their family. It's all about the money, and it's sad.
And which goes back to you're willing to do anything and everything for the bag. That's what it boils down to. Now the camp, all yes men, right? They said there's yes men. The Demetrius Smith guy, he's sitting up there basically, to me, watching it, he's indicting himself.
Right.
He's talking about everything that he was there. Right. He's an accomplice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He was there. I mean, he's making his...
a lot of them. I'm like...
I mean, they're just sitting there and they're going along with it, and then they're coming on this program. It just shocks me how they're coming on the program and they're saying that they were doing this.
I would be too embarrassed and ashamed of myself, to have went along with a lot of that bull crap. And I'm talking about the people who were behind the scenes, who were at the time adults who were on the payroll. But you know what? What do they say? The UPS and the post office is always hiring. So instead of selling my soul and selling out the youth and being a part of this craziness, maybe we need to go to somewhere and put in an application. I mean, because what you gonna sell your soul for a couple of bucks?
You know what's so strange about R. Kelly? We went to go see R. Kelly. I think it was like 2009, right? We went to go see him at the concert, and I went and walked around, and I walked back to the back of the stage, just the back of the crowd, at the top of the auditorium, just to see what the audience was like.
Who
right?
Was he with? He was with
it was a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
That was after the Jay-Z and Best of Both Worlds. He came by himself, right?
Let's see.
Demetrius Smith
Jonas
was the one who said he forged documents. Exactly.
Crazy.
Right. But anyway, so he was there.
Should he be in jail for that?
So I was in the backstage. So he had just finished doing like the Sex Me type stuff, right? Then he came out and he put on "Stepping in the Name of Love," and I mean, the whole spirit in the auditorium, the whole spirit just totally changed from the sexual energy into everybody is partying. You know what I mean? It's stepping in. I mean, it's just so amazing the power that he had that he could take a song like that, "Stepping in the Name of Love," and everybody changed. And it was a totally different energy, and it was more like a family get together, and everybody was partying together. The sexual aspect was out the mind. It's just an amazing thing. It's an amazing gift that he has.
And he took advantage of it. It's sad. I mean, the Lord, he was blessed to have a beautiful voice, right? And he could have used his influence, his power and influence and wealth for good. Like, it's just crazy.
I mean, but you know what? Like I was saying before, the same creativity that was fueled by the sex is the same sex energy that was fueled by the creativity. So you can't break one part away from the other. I mean, it's just the way that it is. He's a complex individual. And multifaceted, but he did do songs that were good, but at the same time,
inspiring. I guess.
Inspiring. I mean, that's inspiring. Good. They sing it in the churches.
Yeah. So I guess that's my next question. Can we separate the man from his music? But we do it with many others. Like they said, like in the documentary, like with Elvis, his wife, and then with Jerry Lee Lewis. And even with, what's his name, the Woody Allen, the filmmaker.
They definitely separate.
Right.
They definitely separate him.
Right. And then
the TV One and BET
separate Bill Cosby from
Cliff Huxtable.
Yeah. So I guess it's possible to separate the man from the music, and because you see it in so many other like areas, right? But even like with these athletes, we still watch football and basketball, and then after you see these people being in trouble for like maybe abuse, and
they keep watching.
Right, and you don't know what your dentist is doing. I mean, he could be.
What about those dentists that were putting the people under?
Oh, right, and molesting
and fondling the breast,
right?
Or the gynecologists that were doing the. So you don't know. You don't know if you got a freak.
Right, you don't know what these people are doing. The people who are teaching your children.
That's right.
And then the principal who was found to be molesting the kids, and
teachers.
About every year you hear about a teacher, male and female, molesting a child, and then the woman who married the boy,
the 14-year-old,
and had a baby with him.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just crazy. So I guess separating R. Kelly, the music, from the man. I guess like that is possible. We need to but I don't think his music is like, he's not like on the top of the charts the way he used to be.
I mean, but those are jams that play at the parties. People will download. I mean, Spotify had it up, and now they're saying Spotify is going to lower him down. But think about this. They said that after the 21 count indictment came down, they said the churches embraced R. Kelly and brought him there, and they were embracing the good side. But I remember when that was happening.
Well, that's because I'm sure he was given some money.
I know, but I mean that was also part of the but it was probably the his rebuilding image. His image, right? But I remember
he doesn't care about his image.
I remember I was flipping stations and I stopped at the religious station, right. And R. Kelly was in the church, right? And all of the people were coming and they were putting hands, and then I remember that the male preachers, that they couldn't reach him, right. They were putting hands like on shoulders, right. To pray for him, right? And then what brings this to mind is LJ put a post up just right after the show ended, and he had a picture of R. Kelly with that particular photo, and he said, I'm going to say this real quick, then I'm going to be out with all the haters. Prayer changes things. So prayer, it brings about positive outcomes. So now he may be doing what he's doing, but he may be very prayed up and asking for forgiveness all the time. Remember, we're supposed to forgive the sinner, right? That's one thing. Two, though, what was strange to me was it was a Caucasian woman. And she had to inch her way. She had to inch her way up just to, and she was feeling on his. When we saw this, she was feeling on his pectoral muscle. Why are you feeling? This is supposed to be church. And she was like this. Yeah, she went like this. She went there. She had her eyes, and she went there. She was like, "Oh yes, Jesus." And I'm like, "Why is she rubbing on?"
Weird. He was looking at her like.
So this is what he said. He said that. During that time, it was in a Vibe article, and he was like, he tried to go to the church, but what he found in the church was the women in the church
we actually saw that.
Were actually worse. Now, I can't actually say that the woman was doing anything than the Holy Ghost was just making her hands move. But the Holy,
she was rubbing all over this man's chest. It was clearly.
I mean, well, she was touching it, but she was rubbing on the pectoral. It was kind of like on the nipple, you know what I mean? And
but she didn't rub the other man like that. Right.
She was like, so she was giving. Her hands must have had a little piece of the Holy Ghost. You know what I mean? The barcades for all those the barcades. But he said that the women in the church are worse than the women out there. So he said he had to go back and might as well figure it out on his own. That was in the Vibe article. He had to figure it out on his own because the people in the church, to him, it was a shocker because he didn't expect them to be like the women in the everyday women that would come to his concerts. But those are some of the same women.
Should he go on Ayanna Fix My Life?
I'm sure Ayanna and Oprah would love it. I mean, it would be ratings gold. But R. Kelly, I'm gonna say something closer to the end of this, and then we'll get into a little discussion about that. But from everything that I'm hearing, we're gonna get to that. So I'm gonna put a pin right there on that. Let's see, what else did it say? Step in the name of love. Okay, this is my thing. I jot down things. I truly believe that this whole documentary thing, this 3-night situation, is going to make R. Kelly more famous.
Oh yeah,
he's going to be more famous. He's going to be able to do more touring. He may even be able to do touring around the world thanks to the Lifetime documentary. He's going to be able to build his money back up. He's going to be able to go buy back his catalog again and be again on top. This is not going to.
Should he be banned from Disney World?
I don't know. He during the height of the trial, he was singing at the Olympics in 2002. So I think they have him there. Remember the footage where R. Kelly goes to the schoolhouse?
Oh yeah! Oh my God!
He's going to the schoolhouse and he's singing the song.
Right after that happened, we were like, why would they invite him to the school?
But he was at the schoolhouse and he was singing the song, "Sitting in the kitchen on your tippy toes, cutting up the vegetables.
And I'm sitting there
and I feel
in disbelief. I'm like, this man is up on charges. A school invited him to sing to the kids.
He's singing, feel it on your booty. He's talking about he's sitting in front of girls.
Are sitting around.
It's girls, and he's singing this song, and the officials didn't run in and stop him and say, "Yo, you got to go, brother."
They invited him to the school, so that's why I'm saying it's crazy. I mean, it's easy to just say, "Oh, R. Kelly scapegoat," but all of these people are enabling him, like like that school. You know, who invites R. Kelly to? And this was a junior high school.
And
remember?
he wasn't singing "Stepping in the Name of Love."
Oh no,
he wasn't singing "I Believe I Can Fly." He was saying, "You're sitting in the kitchen on your tippy toes." And, I mean, you remember that song? Yeah. People who remember that. You can see that, probably see that on YouTube. R. Kelly singing at the schoolhouse, right? Now this Jahanda Pace, she was outside of the trial at 14. Now I need to ask the people out there a question. They say, the psychologists say that, you know, the teen mind isn't totally fully developed, but yet somehow psychologists stand up on the stand and send 14-year-old boys to death row and send them to prison as adults. Right. But actually the mind is not developed, so maybe they should be in more of a juvenile and some kind of counseling program to fix them of the problem that caused them to do whatever they did.
Right.
But somehow women, girls are more feeble in the mind, it seems, by what they're doing, and so they say they can't be held accountable for what they did. But this girl sits outside, says that she cut school. She is very cognitive of the fact of what she did, as she's sitting up there talking it as an adult, right? She said, "I cut school, and my mother, it was easy for me to do because my mother didn't know, because she was working all the time, so she didn't know. So she cut school every day to go to the trial to talk to him every day, right? Every day." So then time passes, he gets acquitted. Somehow one of his people calls her. Somehow the number was passed. Right. You know, they didn't really go into detail. So she goes there to the mansion. He says, "Make sure you bring a swimsuit." So she brings a swimsuit. He goes there. By that time, she's 16. So she goes. He says, "Go change," but she lies to him and says that she's 19. Right? But you know, this is all part of the same story. Now she's cognitive to tell this story, and she's telling her reasoning of why she did it. Right? She comes out. He says, "Okay, get up and walk around like a model." So she gets up, walking around like a model. He said, "Okay, next time, this time come out and take off your swimsuit. You want me to take your swimsuit off?" He said, "Because he was R. Kelly, I said take my swimsuit off." That doesn't seem like a person that didn't know what she was doing, that couldn't be held responsible for what she was doing. She tells the story. She explains it out as an adult now. She explains it out. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she wanted to be around R. Kelly. I may have missed this if you guys have addressed it already, but what about the part where the jury, let me see if I can see more.
It says see more, so
where
felt victims were lying, right, and didn't like them based on their look. I know the guy who the guy who said that.
Unfortunately,
I was shocked. I'm like, what? You didn't like what they were wearing and their look?
They didn't like their look.
Really?
They didn't seem believable, right? So, old girl.
That's what I said. I said, what the hell? I thought the same thing. I'm like, really? This is what you base your judgment on? So, old girl sits there and she does this. Does that seem like someone that, you know, can't be held accountable for what they do? I don't believe the psychologists and psychological mumbo jumbo about the girls not being held responsible. If you hold young, what is the whole thing of reprimanding kids when they're in school? If they're not responsible for what they do, then you can't be stern with them, because you know they're not responsible because their brains haven't fully developed. So why are you being stern with the kid? You should just let them just go on
and do whatever they're gonna do and say, oh well, you know, your brain's not. So if you hold the boys accountable, then you got to hold the girls accountable. What I saw in this story is every person in this story is self-serving.
Yeah. Just saying.
Every aspect of it is self-serving.
Right.
From the young girls who follow him. Now by the time old girl gets with him and does the bathing suit thing, everyone knows what R. Kelly is about. The whole trial. He was acquitted, but everything is in the news, right? So she gets there. So when she gets there, she says she took the baby off. Then they began to kiss. She didn't say he began to kiss me. She said we began to kiss. That is a cognitive and a clue to the fact and a Freudian slip. It's a slip that says that you were with it, that you knew what you were doing when you went there, that you hoped that this would happen. This is my opinion on it. What do you think?
I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just all so, like, just disgusting all around. I mean, you know.
I have to say that, you know, there was eight person whites and 4 black jurors on the case,
and they did not care. Clearly, they did not care.
But I think when they're bringing up,
and speaking of people being accountable, those jurors,
but
you know, like you were saying about the base his decision on, you know, how they looked, and I mean.
But I would like to know what the 4 black jurors were thinking.
Well,
right?
Of course, you know.
Because you would have thought with an 8.
Since then, during that time, what did people say? They said, oh, the little girls are fast.
Right, but the 8 whites and 8 whites and 4 blacks, right? I would like to know what the 4 blacks were thinking, and was it a unanimous decision?
Right.
Did they all say yes, that this was what they believed,
or were
that he was not guilty?
Or were they after seeing the Trayvon Martin documentary, right? And then who else? There's another documentary. Was it Broder? But seeing how judges can lead jurors, it makes me wonder, were the jurors led by direction from the judge?
Well, you know what the judge says, because when
because it was dragged out for years, correct?
Right, but when Alito gave the instructions to the jury to the O.J. Simpson trial, sometimes judges, what their instructions are how the jury should look at the evidence.
Right.
Sometimes, well, most of the time, leads to how the jury is going to come back with a decision. So when Alito said what the jury should look at, I said, well, that sounds like O.J. Simpson is going to come back with a not guilty verdict. I was sitting there watching that trial that whole time where I was going on, and when he gave the instruction, I said, well, and then when you listen to the instruction that the judge gave the jury in the Trayvon Martin trial, matter of fact, the prosecution, the guy gets up there with the dummy. The one prosecutor gets up there with the dummy, and he talks about, well, if the person was being slammed like this, talking about old boy being on the bottom and Trayvon being on the top, and if they were being slammed like this, I'm saying, why does he keep slamming the body? And he tried to make it look like he was trying to make a point, but he was making a point for the defense.
Right.
It was plain to see. It was plain to see.
Well, just like in the situation with R. Kelly, just my opinion, because it's true, you know, these judges and prosecutors can be led by what? Donations, financial donations. So, I mean... Allegedly, I said in my opinion, allegedly. So is this why that the case R. Kelly, like, it dragged out until the girls were adults, you know? So is it because, you know, like they said in the documentary, because they knew young girls sitting in the stand would like maybe sway the jurors a little more compared to having adult women. So I mean,
it's just R. Kelly's gonna be more famous. That's what I can say about that. Now, the smartest person. Now, I said the two people who I believe the most. The smartest person on the documentary is the person that's in silhouette with his voice or her voice changed, who had been with R. Kelly for 20 years. That's the smartest.
They should be ashamed to show their face.
That's the smartest. What's going on, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, they should be ashamed to show their face.
But he's the smartest, or she's the smartest one. 20 years with R. Kelly.
At least they feel shame. At least they feel shame.
They said, block my face out because I'm not going to be an accessory to this. You're not going to know it was me.
And I was truly an idiot. Lord, forgive me. Block my face out because I went along with the bullshit for the money.
Went along with it for the money. Now, this is the last point. Now, remember I put a pen in something, and now I'm going to pull the pen out, and we're going to talk about it for a minute. I believe, after watching the first two documentaries, this is just my opinion, this is my belief, from the actions that they say that R. Kelly does with the women, the young girls. Well, once they turn 17, 18, 19, right, they become women then. Right, since they're going to be a distinguished, but R. Kelly, to me, in my opinion, what they're talking about, R. Kelly, in my opinion, is a pimp.
Oh, they said he acted like a pimp.
That's what. But what I'm saying is, I believe that he's a pimp.
Right.
Look over here.
Right.
So I believe that he's a pimp, in my opinion, and this is why he used his popularity and everything to be able to go across the country, cross-country pimping.
Yeah,
they said the
documentary is on now, actually, in the background. I mean, it's just...
cross-country pimping, in my opinion, and he had different places where he had different women.
So isn't that illegal then? Because with pimps, they go to jail for prostitutes.
So he's not necessarily doing it's all illegal, but he's not necessarily, in my opinion, doing molestation. He's doing pimping and pandering. I mean, if you're really looking at what
there's
this
so
is
many
setting
charges.
Up, you got to keep your eyes down. You got to not look at anybody else. You got to do what I say in front of men when I tell you to do it, and to them what they alluded to, right? Has his wife stashed away, and I still truly cannot believe that she didn't know. And what was her mom teaching her as she was coming up about just being a strong woman?
I mean, her brother introduced her to R. Kelly after
which I don't understand it.
His security guard, and I'm telling you, people, it's sad, but some people are driven by the dollar, and they worship the dollar, and they will put up with anything for the money, and it's sad, and it's hard to even think about that, for some of us, but for some people, man, they will do anything for $1.
And let me tell you something.
For not $1, but for millions and millions of dollars.
For $1. If something you want a value is 25 cents and you can get $1, you're 75 cent richer.
But how horrible is it when it's just like, in the end, to go in thinking that the one girl who wrote the book, you remember, she said this. She said in the beginning, she thought that she was going in and getting something out of it from R. Kelly. She thought she was going to get financial gain, but turned out that wasn't the outcome. Because she said she found herself having feelings for him, and he physically, according to her book, she said he physically abused her. He put her through hell, physically, sexually. But the thing about it is, I mean, for all of these people who went into it for financial gain, whether they worked for him or whether they were like the parents or aunts and uncles, like the outcome, like for R. Kelly was like, really the joke was on y'all because y'all thought y'all was gonna get me for my money, but I put y'all through some hell.
That's what I'm saying. And I think R. Kelly stays prayed up. I really do, right? And prayer does change things, and I'm predicting this. This is going to make R. Kelly.
What do you mean he said prayed up?
He said prayed up.
Well, he probably prayed to his God.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. To him, his God is the God that everybody prays to, and if he's praying and he's able to like getting off, you had a majority white jury and you're acquitted. You're said not guilty. And then
afterwards, the church invites you and pray over you.
Yeah. So, for that to happen, something has to be going on. So what I'm predicting is that this, like everything else,
if R. Kelly didn't have that money, these people wouldn't.
No. What I'm saying is, but the main point is he has the money, so that's a non-starting issue, right? And he has the money, right? And so I predict that this is not gonna do nothing but make him more famous. Right. He's gonna be able to tour, get more money up. Right. The people are gonna say, "What is this? It's a hit job," because it's a hit job. It looks like one big hit job to try to get at him. And what people are gonna say is, I remember this is the last point I'm gonna go. I remember when the Rihanna Chris Brown situation happened. I was in retail in my store then, and the mail carrier came in, and I asked her what she thought about it. It was a black mail carrier, female mail carrier, and she said, that girl, she's from the islands, and they got that, they hot like that, and she just beat up on that boy, and then that's what happened. So women understand women more than men will understand women, because at one time they were that age. At one time they were that, and they had to go through those conflicts. Do I do this? Do I not do that? So in the end, the women are going to say, just like what you saw outside of the trial, they're going to say they're just trying to destroy his reputation because those women were fast. And that's what it is. Because if you're not fast, if you have a belief system in something else other than celebrity and giant, then you will go and do what is the harder toil thing to do and still be successful, but you're going over here and following this idol. And so that's the so there will always be concubines, because there will always be certain women who will do that. And it doesn't matter what type of economic status you come from. It just so happened he came from an area where people will do anything. There are people who are rich that will do anything. Right? So it doesn't matter about your economics. It just matters about what's up here and what you're thinking about. So I'm going to predict that he's going to make him bigger. He's going to go touring. He's going to be able to get his catalog back, buy it back, have it. It's
probably a movie deal, a book deal.
Yeah, he's going to be able to go on. He's going to release some more music. Yep. It's going to be good. Spotify is going to forgive him, and they're going to put him back up at the top of the charts, and all those people are going to do it. What I want to see, like we said yesterday as we close out, what I want to see is, if you don't do it to Whitey, don't do it to Blackie. If you do it to Blackie, do it to White.
Well, what I have to say, like I said earlier, I would like to see, I'm like one of those, okay, so what's the solution? So we need some resolution. And my thing is, if this documentary, if this, the woman who's on here who started the Me Too movement, and the person who put this documentary together, as well as all of the survivors of R. Kelly and his former employees, right? So if it's like genuinely, like if the purpose is really to put a message out there to help other, young girls, or so it won't happen to them again by another prominent figure, right? So if the reason you're really doing this documentary is to help, and if it's not for financial gain and for book deals and movie deals and for another 15 minutes of fame, I would like to see, like at the end of this documentary, I'd like to see some information. I'd like to see some information about some foundations, like they have the Me Too Movement Foundation. I need to know that they have a foundation set up that's giving information about the different programs, the different that they have at the different schools, to talk to young girls and young boys about self-esteem and to stay away from predators. So if the ultimate goal is to help young people to make sure another R. Kelly type person doesn't do this, I need to see this.
And to add on to that, this has to do with entertainment, the music business.
Right.
If you want to do that, make a foundation where the kids are learning how.
But I'm assuming that we're gonna see this at the end.
No,
if the ultimate goal is to help people, and if it's not for 15 minutes of fame for everybody, and if it's not about like some class action lawsuit situation where they're gonna go after him financially, like they did Cosby, if it's not just about the money, I expect to see something at the end about some type of programs or funding.
Something where they teach the people how to make their own music,
right?
Bring in mentors, bring in the stars,
right? Because
that way, where the star comes in,
right?
And they have chaperones.
Right.
They do what they do, then they leave,
right?
And go on, and then the person learns how to have the building blocks to make their own career, so they won't have to rely on. I'm going to sing in front of them, but in the end, as it starts to degrade down, you see the girls just going in just to be around R. Kelly.
Right.
This last girl that they talked to, she wasn't even talking about having a singing career.
Right.
She was talking about hanging out with R. Kelly.
So that's why, if the intent was really to help people and not just go after R. Kelly like financially and 15 minutes of fame for everyone, I would like to see that at the end of this documentary. Because the woman who started the Me Too movement, who is in this documentary, they have a scholarship thing because they have a commercial. I saw it with Reese Witherspoon, as well as with Kerry Washington, as well as a host of other actresses, black and white. They're doing that for them. So if they genuinely care about these young black girls, we should see something at the end of the documentary. Because the woman who set up that program for them, and she's in the documentary talking about R. Kelly and his situation. I expect to see something set up for young girls in the schools and these inner schools and even in the suburbs. Just something to help little girls with their self-esteem, because this is still happening.
That's where the money should go.
It's bigger than R. Kelly. So if they really care, because if R. Kelly wasn't in the picture, let's say if he's arrested, right? Then there'll be another big figure that the girls want to cling to, right? So why not nip it in the bud, the solution, and get the education in the school so it don't happen again if they really care.
And so I get that. That's where we will close out.
Right.
This one right here. I mean, this particular episode was really disturbing.
It was disturbing because it was just disgusting. Because these people are sitting around playing victim,
as if they were all victims.
As if they were all victims when they played a part of it. Like bringing chicks to R. Kelly, young girls to R. Kelly. I mean, are you kidding
young
me?
girls going to R. Kelly that don't even care about singing anymore. They're just going there as it progresses on. And so they have to be held accountable for what they do. Right?
Right. The judge, like we discussed, who he didn't like the way they looked and dressed, so it's just crazy. The juror, right. And it's crazy. It's just so many people who played a part of this.
The irresponsibility. Right. You know that the person is married, but yet you're going around them and being around them. Once you find out that the person has a wife,
right,
you should be out the door.
And you've seen him abusing other women, so what do you think he's gonna do to you?
But then you turn around and think that maybe you think that you can turn around and maybe he's gonna leave his wife for you. I mean, this is
they would not put up with this with Bob. You know, a Bob working at the taco store or whatever. You know, they wouldn't put up with that with Bob. But because R. Kelly, because of his money,
women who put up with.
Who are in relationships with them, but they're not like groupies and chasing after them. There isn't a long line, realistically. Come on, it's not a long line of women chasing after Billy Bob at the taco shop.
What is the real sad?
It's about his money. It's sad.
Is that these young ladies? R. Kelly has been doing what he does. Right. He hasn't wasted one bit of his time on this planet as a human being doing what he wants to do. Music is his thing. He has never wasted time. Everything, if you notice, if you watch the documentary closely, everything that he did corresponded and wrapped around him producing music. Right. All the things, the girls in the studio is around the time. They were the break while he was formulating in his head some more lyrics to keep doing what he's doing. He kept doing what he was doing. The sad part about this is that these young ladies wasted their youth.
And their parents and relatives and allowed this.
Let that stick in your head for a minute. Whatever you're doing, yeah. Do not let that be something where you wasted your youth. These people wasted their youth. Some allegedly by, cause I don't like I told you who I believe, but from 14 up, they wasted.
I believe these girls, they were like victims.
Victims of who? Victims of their own poor decision making.
And the parents and the people who raised them that allowed this, and their R. Kelly being a predator. I mean, it was just it was a mixture of everything that created like this disaster. Like it was just a combination of like everything.
But just one more time, people. The saddest part about this documentary about R. Kelly and surviving R. Kelly, I still don't know, because he wasn't choking them out or axe murder him or anything, or run away like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or anything, so I don't really understand the title. But anyhow, they wasted their youth. I mean, and they can never get that back. From 14 to 21, that is supposed to be the time when you're rolling and moving and grooving, right? So they wasted their youth, and that's where we're going to close that. Who are the responsible parties? All of them are responsible for what they did. So that's it. This has been another great episode of the film review. Movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy Dee.
Tracey.
And we review culture and movies, music, politics, and society. And we'll see you next time.